and gentlemen, you were listening to us on Libertytreeradio.4mg.com, Liberty Tree Radio on YouTube live stream, and we are on AM and FM micro stations, CB base stations, and UltraNet, Hallmark, and Golden Spike Technologies east and west of the Mississippi, along with Alaska. Good afternoon to all of our friends out there in Lower 49. That's the state of Jefferson and Conus, along with the outlying two states, the territories, and the clock. It's 5:07 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is the 1st of September. It is the 12th year of open Fabian Socialist and Soviet Socialist occupation of America with a K. 2020 Old Earth calendar, 2020 Dance of Swords, Battle for the Republic. Congratulations, you're in the competition. You get to pick whether or not you want to be the loser or the winner. I suggest you kind of embrace life and master the trade, prepare to fight. Anyway, Communications Tuesday, but a couple things I'm going to communicate to you that are a little different rather than communications, as is always the case. AIM Surplus, www.AIM Surplus. Not everybody's gotten any ammunition in the last couple of days, but AIM, as of this wee hours of the morning, is when this started, has been posting their latest incoming material. So either they got somebody in early before work, or they're, it's a leftover from last weekend, but I should say from before the week. But whichever, if you go over to aimsurplus.com, AIM surplus.com. Now, they don't have a lot. Nobody does. But what they do have, and they might even have added a few things since I looked in the last 2 hours because I've been busy building and constructing and tearing apart things. Okay, first of all, grab a pen, because if you have any interest in any of these, this is as good as it gets right now price-wise, okay? Now, this is PPU, Preview Partisan, and AIM has probably, I think, the best link for PPU ammo in the country, and there's a bunch of stuff here that certain people listening always want more of, okay? Yeah, I know, you want some 5.56, but that's probably not going to happen. Well, we'll see. Wait a minute. Just give me a minute. You never know. And, anyway, something cool just appeared on the page. There's some more things they added. Number one, attention. There we go, a fanfare of some kind. Anyway, Preview Partisan, PPU, 30-06, 150 grain, FMJ. This is a Garand and 1903 Springfield ammo. Ball standard, and that's what it's set for. This is Boxer Prime, non-corrosive, heat and yield, fresh as it gets. $15.95 a box for 20 rounds. It's PPU, so it works. Preview Partisan, PPU, 308, 762 by 51 NATO. 150 grain, soft point, 20 rounds per box, $14.95. British, 303, Preview Partisan. Again, FMJ, $14.95. Now, for you pistol shooters, I know you were hoping for 9mm. Well, add one. If you guys are 10mm shooters, I know that everybody's cleaned out. UN Ammo said that Magpul is way behind. Not Magpul. What's the other one? Magpul's the guys that make the plastic. Anyway, Magtech, forgive me. Magtech is way behind. They may or may not get any, but over here at AIM Surplus, aimsurplus.com, aimsurplus.com, Preview Partisan PPU 10mm, 170 grain, FPJ, 50 rounds per box, $19.95. That's no worse than it was before the big rush. How long that's going to last, I don't know. But if you got a 10mm, I'd go over there and, you figure out what you can invest. They may not have much of that left already. Anyway, another interesting one. Any of you guys gotten into the old H&R or Smith & Wesson? And there are a few police positives in 32 Smith & Wesson long. If you got Grandpa's old service pistol, a lot of guys who were police carried the little police positive, neat little gun. They were very popular in 4 and 6 inch for a very long time in the Colts. And 32 Smith & Wesson long for the Smith little J-frames, and H&R made a bunch. I used to sell H&Rs too, like everything else. I used to sell a lot of guns. H&R made a bunch of 4 and 6 inch and even some 8 inch 32 Smith & Wesson long revolvers. And if you got one of Grandpa's guns, there's some ammunition for you. How long it's going to last, I don't know, but go get it. If you've got that pistol and it takes 32 Smith & Wesson Special, forgive me, it's a revolver, although it is a pistola. But for your revolver, that is the cat's meow / the solution. They've also got some 7.65 Argentine, 7mm Mauser, 25-06, and I'm amazed this stuff is still sitting here. They've got some 7mm Remington mag. Now, I've told 3 people who have that gun, and they said, no, I don't hardly have any ammo. That was 3-4 days ago, so I don't know if they bought it or they didn't. Either way, it's kind of strange because it's 1/3 the cost to everything else. I think people still have this really goofy idea, well, if it's cheaper, it must be, it's ammunition. Right now, can you find any? No, and if I do, it's like $50, $60 a box. Well, then why are you shying away from $16.95 a box for 20 rounds of 7mm belted Magnum? That's kind of stupid. And it really is, okay? I used to deal with this when I was like, oh, God. I didn't even have the same ammunition on the shelf, but I'd have it at a reasonable profit. I'd make 100% profit. And I'd have people walk by it, and the people I sold other ammunition, I used to bring cases of ammo to the gun shows. And I'll never forget this. I had the only discarding Sabo ammo from the factory in stock, right? And, that was available. And I sold a couple of cases to one of the other characters at one of the gun shows over in 8 Mile. Well, he's at the same show. He puts his at market price, about $12 a box. I had mine at under, about $3 a box because, I got it for under $1 a box. So I'm making reasonable profit, okay? Well, these people come by and they look at my ammo and they look at the price, and it's, the BRI company. And I even had one box. You could look at the shell and make sure it's what it is. And it was the best price in the show. The only person that had it, other than this other guy, down the same row, about 20 tables, right? So these people go by and they come back, and the guy's actually arrogant. He's got his bag full of, and it's a clear bag, double thickness. They used to get them from one of the stores here in, I think it was Walgreens used to have them. But anyway. The guy's got this clear bag. He's got a whole pile that he paid almost $10, $12 for a box. And he's looking at that ammo, and he's almost like he's showing me, look, I got the real deal. Yours is, and it's he looked at mine, and he looked at his, and he looked at mine, and he looked at the price, and he looked at his, and then he gets this expression on his face oh, and then he goes back down the aisle. I'm sure he was going to be I want my money back. And it's but he didn't, it's really funny because it's you paid what you felt was acceptable because in your mind it was more expensive, even though you could read the batch numbers and lot numbers even on the box. I mean, come on, it's only a 5-shell box. Pick it up, look at it. And it's when he was looking at it, I said, yep, that ammunition, I even said it. I looked right at him and I said, that ammunition, he bought that from me. Oh, Beaker, Bunsen Bee Honeydew. Oh, no, I was, like I said, I guess I should have jacked the ammo up more. Several other people came in, looked at it, and said, oh, yeah, I'll pay that price. And they bought out everything. So the guy, by the time he came back, I think he thought he was going to take his money and, now I'm going to buy it from you, even though I pissed on you. And it's well, there's nothing to buy, so, it's gone. And it's gone, and it's gone. So I'm fascinated by this because $16.95 Preview Partisan 7mm Remington Magnum works just fine. Use that for your familiarization or for prep rounds. If you got other shooters you want to actually shoot the rifle, use that. Don't take your most expensive round and shoot it. That's stupid. Why are you going to do that? Take a serviceable round, and then when you're done, if you're reloading, which if I was doing the 7mm Remington Mag, I would be reloading simply because look at the price. And this is cheap. The other stuff isn't, okay? I could reload for a lot less and keep it about the price of PPU, ammo. Maybe not, okay? So anyway, there are some other loads. There's some 50 caliber BMG tracer and ball for $369.95 for 100 rounds in a can. That is an excellent price. By the way, it's a link, so if any of you have the semi-auto 50s, and I know some of you guys listening do, $369.95, so that's $370, $3.70 a round for 100 rounds. And what's cute about that is it's 100 rounds in a can linked, but every fifth one is a tracer, the way it's supposed to be. So you get a trace round in there, which means it's actually worth a little more right now. The rest is standard, I think, M33 ball, so that's cool. Either way, you got what you need. And for our friend who was looking at buying that 50 this weekend, hopefully you did. If not, somebody else is going to jump on it, like, as soon as I know you can, and or won't. And if you do, then you better come over here and buy some of this ammo, because if you got the upper, you're going to need the ammo. So take care of that and get that out of the way. Anyway, also there is some .30 carbine. There is carbine laying around. It's not everywhere, but a lot of places. So if you have a carbine, by God, you better be buying some of this ammunition too while it's available, if you didn't have any. Because, well, I got Grandpa's rifle or Dad's rifle, but I only found like a couple of stripper clips of ammo. Go grab some of that Korean stuff. It's standard ball, military issue. It works. The Koreans didn't want to get shot in their own gear. So, shot dead cold with a jammed rifle, so they usually make the stuff work, you know what I mean? The Koreans knew they'd have to defend the DMZ, and they took it seriously. They're very serious people, so they build well. In fact, we should be letting more Korean ammunition in, but we don't. And that's an example of how, we make Korea such a big issue, but then we don't do anything to support them, like economic ties with ammunition and other arms that they sell, which were far better than the kosher crap that's made over there in Israel. As far as, like, most of the junk they make, it's like, God, some of the worst I've ever seen, and quality and finish is like piss poor at best. So, or plastic, of course. Plastic everybody's doing, so you can cover a lot of sin when you put the junky finished surface underneath the plastic. Yeah. Anyway, just a heads up, aimsurplus.com, aimsurplus.com, www.aimsurplus.com. Next, communications. There are a bunch of these little FRS tabletops. This is a matrix thing, because after I mentioned that to you guys, somebody else said, yeah, they went to a yard sale, they got 2 of those. They're desktop, FRS, weather, and other, they have different combinations. They're made by Radio Shack. I found out I've got like 3 or 4 of them that I picked up, and I didn't look close because I was just grabbing a rat nest of electronics, and turns out that I got 3 of the units all identical, and one that's a smaller. I don't know why they made a smaller one. Apparently maybe it's just a little cheaper, and that way somebody would buy that. But these are neat little base station FRS radios. The cool thing is they run off 12 volts, so guess what? You can put a cigarette lighter plug in the back end of it, with an extension, and use it on board a vehicle if you wanted to. Wouldn't be my first option because I've got mobiles and handhelds, but it is something very useful in that it can be used anywhere. And if you've got a car battery or a 12-volt electrical system set up any place, these little units are not bad. They were made by Realistic. Apparently in the last days of what is left of Radio Jerk, although I think they've been around for more than a few years. But you may find them in the wreckage of any of the old Radio Shack stores, or anybody who's trying to maintain the business. Here in Michigan, of course, the commie we have in Lansing has tried to destroy all the little and middle-sized businesses. And so a lot of them have shut their doors, and they may not open again. Had a couple that actually were former Radio Shack, and the guy had connections for the old Radio Shack inventory, and he kept buying more, by what we've been told. And he might even have some of these, which is what I was going to have one of our friends check on as soon as we can. In fact, I'll give him a ring. I've still got to go through the inventory tonight. I want to see if I have all the rest of the plugs, and even have some earbuds / throat mic or standard boom mic fixtures that go along with them, which would really be cool, because somebody sitting at a desk, you can do a multiple number of things. These do have voice talk off of the machine, but that's kind of like cell phone conference calling, with when you open it up to the speaker, you get all kinds of feedback on the loop, and it's noisy. So if you're going to be operating and you're going to be the RO, you're sitting at a location where you're, say, monitoring security cameras, observing an entrance area, and you're going to be receiving radio signals, it's kind of nice to have a hands-free system you can use. So I'm trying to sort those out, bag them up, and keep them together. And if we do have a couple extra handhelds, which there were in the box I opened up, I'll mate a couple of those to the base radio, so right off the bat you got a set. Somebody can walk away with the radio, talk to the person at the desk or person at the Bic and Talk, and get the job done. So there are some really cool solutions out there. The Belfongs are getting kind of thin. That's something that, while on the one hand, a lot of places advertise them, it's the old story when you get to the page and you go to the product, it's out of stock. Now, this will be a mix. And remember, not all Belfongs are doing the same thing. You've got 2-meter units out there. You do have even some CB Belfongs. I've only seen a couple of those personally. I don't know why people haven't bought more. They're really not a bad idea. But I haven't had a chance to experiment with them. Somebody was asking me about that. They ran into these, and it's like, well, first we need to battery them up, and then we need to test them out and try them for range. But a lot of the AM and also the AM systems that have been around for quite some time, well, because the generation of technology in between back when they first showed up in the 90s and now, a lot of surplus unissued components are available. What's happening is that those technologies, which are not first line, but they do have a market, we have a market for them, we like them, what they're doing is they're upgrading with onboard synthesizers to correct for drift and, variance in reception, with the antenna. And it's fascinating, for instance, where you really see this is with shortwave receivers. They've gotten smaller, of course, but also they've become a little more efficient. Now, there are some things that you pay for there. Microcircuitry can't be fixed. There is very little you can do other than replace chips. If you do, you got to be tedious with it. You're looking at flush face at the largest with regard to components, and a lot of people don't want to mess with that. We've done that before with some of the smaller micro FM, transmitters that were actually like just local or like for yard transmitters. I experimented and did a couple of those. They work. They're serviceable. And those were Ramsey kits from, years ago. Now, in the meantime, other chips, which otherwise probably wouldn't have been spent on a system, once they become cheap enough, people will slide that project over to the main desk and they'll start to improve it. So you are seeing, a few of the CB units, a little more clarity, maybe not so much range, but clarity is the big thing. Or cleaning up the signal. It's got less nasal involved with it maybe, or a little less, rush or mush in the background. And that's what those onboard synthesizers do. They correct and translate. And it's amazing what, how the performance just on the shortwave receivers, how that's come. A lot of you truck drivers have been listening to what are literally pocket-sized shortwave units that bring in the signal quite well. But now they do have their limitations. And again, the other issue is if they break, they're not super expensive, but they do cost a little bit of money. And when they break, there's not much you can really do with them. Unless it's, fortunately, maybe a knob or maybe a battery connect or something. You might be able to, we can fit those, and we can change things out. But the smaller components and assemblies, you're going to be replacing whole elements of the system, and that's where they're counting on the idea that, well, you'll end up buying another one instead because you don't know what to do about that. And that's logical. That's part of the throwaway, castaway society thing. They want to test to see how far they can go where people will consider that acceptable, or whether or not they'll even come back to the table. If it breaks, will they even go back to that market? Some cases, people just throw their hands up in the air and walk away. They won't even use the thing. They won't even, replace the technology. So this is where we need to be ahead of the step on that one. We need to be one whole nose. We don't need to be a lap. We just need to be a nose ahead of the enemy guys to win. That's all you need to get across the finish line. Just be a nose ahead, or a little tithe of a line. Anyway, other ideas. Well, real quick, the other thing that is starting to pop out, and in fact I saw a real neat innovation with something I picked up the other day. There are a bunch of the radio, telephone, mobile, wireless phones that you had, and a lot of people had in their houses. Now I've collected all those that I can, and I'm going to remind you that those have walkie-talkie capability. Much like that FRS radio, base radio we're just talking about, the same technology is applied to wireless phones. And in many cases, the wireless phones can all link up and talk to each other, can't they? Have you had 3, 4, or 5 of them in a house? Pick up the phone. You pick up the phone, and you're hearing the same thing. You're even hearing Molly, who's with you in the house, and you're hearing Bob, who's calling from outside. And more than one phone can hook up. All 3 phones. If you have 5 phones, they can all hook up and listen in. Well, if you'll notice, though most people don't use them, With the industrial versions of those phones and the standard models that are typically in-house, no matter who makes them, you might have noticed there was a switch. Maybe you read the manual, maybe you didn't. But it's walkie-talkie capability. It has a walkie-talkie switch where you switch it over, and it's like an in-house radio system. Except here's the thing. You can reach past the house. You can actually move out in the yard, and it's amazing how far those things will reach and what they'll go through. Now, there's VHF, UHF models, and there are FM models. It depends on what year it was made, which company made it, and how much money they want to spend on it. You will find that with the industrial phones, which are also designed to be, remember, you carry them like you would a in-house cell phone, and Bob, call on line 14, and then you pick your phone off of your belt there, and you punch it in, and you're talking off the main line from the main desk, and you're conversing with whoever wanted to call Bob, okay? So this is one of the things you want to watch for and eyeball. I got one group, I think it was 14 of the phones like that in one pod, got all the gang chargers, spare parts, even spare battery packs. And the only thing with some of these systems, they do have a proprietary battery pack. However, here's the thing, and this is where I got on this subject. The battery packs that go for those units are typically 3 1.5-volt battery. They may be, or could be, 4 1.5-volt AAA, but it could be 3 AA, maybe 3 AAA. It depends on the power needed for that little radio that you, or that little cell phone cordless phone that you have now, or that you may have seen laying around. Now, remember that those battery packs, in many cases, the connectors are virtually identical to what you have in other pieces of equipment, even some of your shortwave radios, what I was just talking about. Here's what's really neat. There is a little gang connector plug that actually allows for your battery pack that's internal to hook up to your batteries that you would insert to the back end of whatever system. Even if they're rechargeable, there is a retainer. The rechargeables in some cases are individual packs and are not a module like you had on the old wireless phones, but some are. If they're not, doesn't make any difference. Point, the connectors haven't changed in the industry, and I'm rather fascinated by this. I started looking at some of the other pieces of equipment. In fact, I bought a whole bundle of the connectors for that reason. They cost about half a penny a piece the other day, so I got male and female and picked up several sets, about 20 or 30 of them. Those are on hand. Why? Well, what I just saw is really kind of handy to have, in that if the batteries that would normally be available are not available, you can simply unplug the connector point to your built-in battery pack and wiggle it around through one of the many holes and slots inside the battery box and plug in one of these little charger packs that you get off of the wireless carry phones, for in the house. Now, here's what's neat. There's a bunch of those showing up at yard sales, and then also showing up in the hardware is marked down right now because they're not as common or popular, because very few people were smart enough to keep their ground lines. Now, that's going to be, we'll find out in the long run about that one. But if you don't have the ground line, you probably aren't going to be interested in the phone. You might even have some sitting on the shelf. Now, first, I'd try using them for walkie-talkies, because a lot of people were thinking, I can afford ammo and I can afford guns, but we're really short. I haven't been out because of work, and the corona beer virus has screwed us all. So as it stands, if you're limited and you're still looking for some alternate or at least backup communications for around the property, piss on the cell phone. How about you break out that little wireless phone system you got with the 3, 4, or 5 phones, hook it back up to the wall, because that'll charge up the base, and then hook the rest up and work off the wall for as long as you can. Always remember that. Work off the wall right up until where the government's generators finally die way down the power line, and you're on your own with generators and solar panels and with solar and with wind and with don't forget hydro, whatever you got. And because of that, what you need to do is be ready, but use the wall for as long as you can, because that power is being produced by somebody else, and it's not taxing your reserves. You're still going to have to pay for it, big deal, but then start experimenting with those phones. Find out how far they reach. How far can you talk? Where can you go with them? Because if you're looking at security, as we know, the communists are not going to slow down, and the big lie is, well, the Democrats are going to tell them to back off. The zealots are not going to back off. For those of you who weren't around for the 70s, when the big money did kind of back off because it didn't need the communists to be burning the country anymore, when they were playing their game against Nixon, one faction against the other faction, remember? The real hardcore zealots kept killing people and bombing things and burning stuff down and taking hostages and all kinds of fun stuff. In fact, government will continue to do it from one end to the other. If you don't know the real history of the Symbionese Liberation Army, I suggest you look to see if you can find anything real about it. Now, in the Patriot effort, there was a lot of phenomenal research done on the Symbionese Liberation Army. Remember Patty Hearst? Yeah, remember I played a role in the Headless Thompson Gunner. You know, Patty Hearst heard the burst of Roland's Thompson gun and bought it. Yeah, because she was a party hardy girl with the Symbionese Liberation Army. She was traveling with them, dudes. And then maybe she figured she'd get Daddy to pay for stuff, you know, and he did. And then they tore the snot out of whatever he said to Watts and everywhere else. All the food he tried to donate, you know, you must send semi-trucks. They are going to feed the people. And as soon as they opened the back doors, Ubangus, Knuckle Dragus stepped up, started tearing the stuff apart, throwing the food out the back end, running with bags full of this, looking for the steak. Man, they were throwing the bread out because they were showing up with bread. They couldn't wait for that. They wanted all that for themselves. So they swung in and pushed those Hearst people out of the way that were driving the truck. They got the goodies, and tore the hell out of it, and squashed a bunch of it, and threw it on the ground, and destroyed a big chunk of it. Yeah. Remember those heady days of the Symbionese Liberation Army and the black population doing what the black population is doing now. Same thing back then. I wants free, I wants free, and I wants free. Yeah. Nothing new. And in fact, didn't get up off their dead ass then, and get up off their dead ass now, except to take somebody else's stuff. They will come show up and steal your stuff, because that's free. Well, maybe. Anyway, we got a lot of work to do here with regard to, again, organization. One of the problems that I have seen over the last several weeks watching any of these different rallies is no real organization to keep everybody safe. When the bad guys show up, there's a fluster of, oh my gods, and, you know, there's a bunch of, you know, open mouth or a curt mouth, and then some mumbling back and forth, and then the usual, well, random and very ill-organized defense of whatever, if it is a defense, if they don't decide they need to retreat. Now, if somebody doesn't grab hold of the reins on this, and there's all kinds of people who want to get in front of the camera, and they want to make lots of noise, but they don't step up to the management end and actually perform, well, that's just going to be generating casualties and not producing results. I mean, you get something out of the deal, but you need to be tighter, you need to be better organized, and you need to actually have the ability to deal with the problem in force when the time comes and apply the energy where it's surgically needed. The best way to describe it. So, again, somebody needs to be stepping up to the plate as a straw boss. Doesn't mean who it is. They may not even, you know, they may not do really well, but at least if they get motivated and kind of put their money where they claim their mouth was, that would be good. Lead, everybody remember this term? Lead, follow, or get the hell out of the way. In the field, that's basically how it works. Once you do decide that you want to be that big kahuna, I'm going to be the one in charge. Do you have any idea what you're doing? Well, no, but I got a cool uniform. Okay, that's fantastic. That's half the qualifier right there, isn't it? Well, maybe that's all it takes. But if you do step up, then you make a decision. You act. Don't sit there, fumble and mumble. Act. Now, you may have to think through things. You're going to need intelligence. You got to be able to figure out what's going on the ground. But remember, at the very least, if everybody's moving with one mind, right there you've changed the environment. So if there's going to be any issue with regard to a straw boss / leadership, if it looks like somebody's going to go into brain fart panic mode, shovel Mr. Spiffy uniform out of the way and somebody else step up and be the number one straw boss for the moment. Again, lead, follow, or get the hell out of the way. Prior proper planning prevents piss poor performance. And remember, learn from the mistakes of others. You won't live long enough to make them all yourselves. Your enemy will compensate very quickly, and, well, maybe none of you will survive if he really bollocks it up. So, a couple other things here. This is rather fascinating, and I want to say, first of all, thank you to Melanie and also to Mitchell for this TPI. Schools in Vermont District ordered to fly Black Lives Matter flags. Now, this is not a fake story. This is not fake news. There are all kinds of local news articles in Vermont on this subject if you look it up. If you go to, again, this is by Todd Sarnes, dated August 2nd, 2020. But this has been an ongoing noisemaker. This is not something that just happened, but this has been ongoing because as soon as people mentioned this, what happened is over the next several weeks, if you read the rest of the stories, I'm just going with the baseline story right here because this is where it all started. Somebody finally mentioned, hey, what the hell is this garbage? The Mill River Unified Union School District in Vermont. Now, I'm just going to read that 3 times so that everybody knows where to look up the story. And you actually can go to the school. You can look the school up in a search, the school, the Unified Union School District, and you will have a whole pile of stories pop up with the ongoing epic where people didn't want this, but, hey, you're only the taxpayer that shovels the money into the commie so that the commie can piss on your family and tell your children to hate you. Schools in Vermont District ordered to fly Black Lives Matter flags. And again, the location, Mill River Unified Union School District in Vermont. Mill River Unified Union School District in Vermont. Mill, M-I-L-L, Mill River Unified Union School District in Vermont has directed every principal to hoist the Black Lives Matter and LGBT pride flags on district campuses. That flagpole should have the U.S. flag and the Vermont state flag on it, period, said Art Peterson, a Republican running for the state house. I'm disappointed that one person can come in, make a request of this nature, and the board automatically decides to do it, he told the Rutland Herald. By the way, another story there if you want to find that one, Rutland Herald. Those flags both have a political meaning. Yes, they do. And those things have meaning to people. When you introduce politics into the schools, these symbols, where does it stop? Well, it won't, comrade. This is just like the whole thing with the commies wanting in Tennessee to make sure that the teachers are not observed while they preach this season's hate all the white people, kill all the white people, apologize for being white agenda that they're going to be doing in Tennessee. They want the parents to sign off that they're not going to look at what the students are being hit with in school on their computers. Because after all, you'll see that exactly what I said from the get-go, only an idiot, an incompetent, or a fool would take and put their children in the public school system. And guess what? Trump's trying to shove them there. Did anybody notice this? We're going to open the schools. Who cares? What is that going to benefit the children? Please, I'm fascinated by this. How is that going to work? Because in reality, as we know, the communists with their agenda are going to continue to piss on everybody they possibly can. And that means you, and that means your children. And what we're seeing right now with regard to all of these activities, ain't no way in hell I would put my children in the public school system ever again, if anybody's listening out there. But right off the bat, you're going to go to school, what's the first thing they're going to see? Faggoty flag, and, oh, wait a minute, but it'll be a toss-up. They can put the faggoty flag first, or they can put the Black Lives Matter first. Not that either group are really any different one from the other. The queer as a $3 bill pedos in both groups. But as it is, this again, for all of you looking for it, it's schools in Vermont District ordered to fly Black Lives Matter flags. Do a search, you're going to find a bunch of different stories pop up, and it's going to be the ongoing tit for tat back and forth. And it turns out you got one little Peckerwood, leftist / faggot, And apparently all the other little leftist faggot slash queers a $3 bill slash the kill all the white people crew that are teachers and principals and the school board, they just loved it. Oh, yeah, they got to get into that. Because it's right in line with their little agenda, by the way. And don't forget, Southern perversion laws giving them louse. That's done nothing but a protect the pedophile organization. And then, of course, the ADL. That is the pedophile organization. So it's like, the queers a $3 bill slash, they need to be, they're tied into Mambla, that kind of thing. So, as it is, again, just a heads up, pay attention and don't send your children to the public fool system. Only an idiot, an incompetent, or a fool would do that. And Trump wants to. Like I said, only an idiot, an incompetent, or a fool would want to send your kids to school this fall, especially, not because of the coronavirus. Piss on that. That's irrelevant. That's a lie. But with regard to, oh, yeah, that's right, the agenda. Oh, Trump wants your kids in there so that all those leftist teachers can shove as much garbage down their throat about how they need to beg and shuck and jive and apologize for being white right now. And if you don't, wow, you're evil. You're evil. Don't forget that you are evil. And, oh, yeah, okay, whatever. We'll remember that. Yeah, evil, whatever. So anyway, let's see, next in the list of things to do, and there's a whole bunch of other stuff that is going on right now, needs to be done, but right off the bat, another thing, I had several questions about armored trucks again, and, again, I've been looking for vests. The only, I wouldn't say cheap, but the cheapest vests out there right now are at Sportsman's Guide. If you're looking for a couple of flak vests slash ballistic vests to put on the seats the way we were talking, I pulled out all of the Kevlar blankets we've got, and they're kind of laying where they're supposed to now, and on top of everything else we've already done. And everything is being pretty well squared away so that it's working. The big thing here with the vests is if you are going to do this, I would go move sooner rather than later, and the reason I say that is quite simple. One of the biggest problems is that the biggest size go first, and if I were you, if you were going to buy these for your car, if you're going to use these for armoring your car, armoring the seats, the front seats, rider and driver, go to www.sportsmansguide.com. I'll take you there again because I had 6 or 7 emails on this. Go to Sportsman's Guide and then go punch in as a search surplus tactical vest. Now here's the thing, the British vest may not show up, but I'm going to look to see maybe they got something back in. They do have the the Italian Woodland, French is gone. Italian Woodland Surplus Military Carrier Vest, $224.99. Not a bad vest. Does have the crotch armor up front, the hanger. They still have the U.S. Military Surplus Paratrooper Frag Vest, but those are only in small, and those are $117. And then the problem, and this is why it has been difficult to, and I'm looking to see if it'll show up the way it should, and if it doesn't, and it doesn't look like it is. Yeah, when you do that, here's what's bizarre. This is why the British vests have lasted so long. British body armor. Now, I'm going to see if it shows up this way. British body armor. Every time that I have tried to search for these, I've had to dig it out of Sportsman's Guide page. So, nope, it does not show up that way. So here's what we're going to do. British surplus. Do the surplus British and there, British Military Surplus DPM Ballistic Flak Vest. That's the only way I can, when you tried, now, that should have been in the other subjects, but it's not. So this is why it's still relatively cheap, and another reason that the extra larges, the 2Xs are gone. The extra larges are still there, and the extra large is what I'd buy. If you were buying something, you can always wear a bigger vest, but it's hard to stretch one over your arse if it's smaller. But you want these for your seats. And the way that you do this, I'm going to walk through this again. You take one of these, or buy two. If you only have one, put this on behind the driver. If you can get two, put one on the driver and one on the rider's side, because it will armor the vehicle up 2 ways. More on that in a minute. what you do is take out the headrest. Now, the headrests on most of your cars, if you pull up, you probably didn't know this, so I'm going to repeat it again for our new listeners. If you pull the headrest up, it will come right out of the seat. Yeah, oh, that's horrible. No, it's meant to do that because it's supposed to be a window breaker if you have to get out of your car. You did know that, right? Did you read your manuals? That's why they have a bit of a stud head on the end of them, or tapered, if you'll notice, so that if it creates a focal point, you take and pull out the headrest, and you can smack out the side window to get your arse out if the doors are crushed or damaged. If you don't have a window breaker knife or, like one with a stud on it or whatever. And again, you take that out for a very different reason, just to get it out of the way. Then you take the back of the vest, once you undo the Velcro, which goes right around the whole of the torso of the vest, what you do is you take the back and put it on the front side towards where you rest your back in the seat. The back of the vest goes forward, and that's what you're going to be putting your back on when you sit back in the seat of your van, truck, car, or whatever it is you got. The pockets go to the rear. Now, this is cool because it creates a couple of pocket stations for tactical gear, magazines, whatever. Then you form and cinch up the centerpiece so that your system doesn't jiggle around. It'll be lined up right with the rest of your seat. Now, your armholes are going to be up high. The head hole is going to be in the middle there. And what you've got is then a perfect spot for, with the head hole in place, you put the headrest back in. And once you've got it adjusted, so you got it where you want it, that will lock the vest in place. The headrest helps to keep everything, from jiggling around. It's another point of contact. Now, you can also get the clip pistol belt. If you'll notice on these vests, if you haven't looked at them, there is a wraparound for a service belt. You can buy strapping, and you can buy the males and the females for those bucklers, and even put a lower strap around the base to make sure that it's that much snugger. Not a big deal, but it's something that could be done. But take a look at the vest itself. It's new, British Military Surplus DPM, ballistic flak vest with plates, used, $89.99 Buyer's Club price. $99.99 if you're a non-member, so it's going to be $100. Save $10 and back between the two. Now, the first order you do, you're not going to get the Buyer's Club discount, I don't think. They may have changed it. I made sure I paid for that, and it's been priceless ever since. I just got free shipping, and I just piled up a whole bunch of tactical gear that I needed to fill out, dot the I's, cross the T's from their clearance section. Just finished the order today, okay? These vests are more than serviceable enough for you to wear if you're looking for tactical armor. So again, don't throw that out the window, but it's the idea for armoring up a vehicle. This is the fastest way to armor up the seats and put a core plate area in the car. Now, here's the thing. I was going to mention this. If you put this on the rider or the driver's seat, if somebody's in the back seat and somebody is shooting from the front, remember that this creates a panel of safety that's going to slow down a lot of what's coming in. Note, first of all, body armor on the car, the body of the car, the sheet plastic, whatever's there, the dash, all that slows down the projectile. Here's the thing. When you put that on the seat, if the seat gets hit and somebody's not in it, although if somebody's in it, they're going to slow the bullet down too. The Kevlar is going to slow it down on the front panel. The back panel is going to finish it. Oh, that's right. You're not just using one. Somebody's going to go, well, that's only a flak vest, or that's only earlier armor. Yeah, but you got two layers of it protecting you. It's on the back of the seat, and it's behind you on the front of the seat. So you don't have one layer. You have all layers of that Kevlar available to slow stuff down. But remember, it's got to get through the body and then get to you. Now, if it's coming out from the front and you have people in the back seat, children, whatever, remember, that's another couple of layers of protection that's between the front and the back, and you're not going to be lucky where every time it's going to just conveniently hit the body armor. But if it happens to hit there, it's going to offer a lot more protection than sucking vapors and nothing. Now, here's another thing. Let's say you get another vest for yourself. You put two of those in the vehicle. Put another one on the driver, and you wear it the way you're supposed to, and any bullets coming in from behind, do you think anything's going to get to you probably? I mean, granted, if somebody turns a 50 on you, you're screwed. But anything else, you've got all of the seat armored. Oh, by the way, see those pockets? I've mentioned this many times. See those pockets? You could have a couple of panels cut, or you could find some chicken plates and slide them into those pockets that are going to be on the back of the seat. And they're right at about center torso layer, upper torso at least, which offers even more protection. Oh, that's right. So again, solutions, not just pissing and moaning about the problems and not being snide about it either, and that, well, that's stupid. What good will that do? Well, better than your ass hanging in the breeze. Okay? Just that simple. Unless you've got super tough skin that I don't know about. Krypton armor. Oh, wow, really cool, man. I didn't know you were from there. Otherwise, everything helps. And remember, in armor on vehicles, it's more junk in front of it. It's just like air defense. You throw junk. You throw junk up. In this case, you're putting stuff between you and the bad guys. It's that simple. Also, there are some other vests that are more expensive for personal wear and are rated even higher, which is another consideration. Also, if you look, you will find, and although eBay and all the others are stupid price, you will find some stuff floating around that's used. I'd even check Facebook Marketplace. You never know what's going to pop up there. Older police armor, older rifle armor, ceramic armor, which is typically the older stuff is heavier and bulkier, which people have been kind of opting out for the newer, thinner stuff, which, by the way, still isn't lighter, just denser, okay? So they're not saving weight. They're just, like, obviously saving bulk. But definitely all of that technology, none of that's outdated. None of it. All of it will work. All of it will offer some protection. Don't forget that we're now moving into Antifa, Black Lives Matter, and the kill all the white people, throwing more bombs. So fragmentation is going to be an issue. Oh, this is a frag vest. Wonder what that was made for. Oh, that's right. That's right, grenades. And so guess what? You're going to see more pipe bombs. You're going to see more improvised grenade type work. You're going to see more launcher type improvised weapons where they're launched at you. And they will not have the velocity of the, especially the farther you are away from the object, they will not penetrate normally unless, well, if you don't have any protection, then yeah, they're going to shred. They'll tear you up. But if you have wraparound armor, which another thing about these vests that I can't emphasize enough, I understand a lot of you guys invested in plate carriers. Well, the problem is that as everybody takes them off because they're heavy, the one convenient thing about wraparound level 2, level 3 armor is it's convenient enough that most people wear it. I lived in this stuff. Okay, I've had a lot of this armor, and I've used it extensively. So the old police wraparound armor, in fact, I was carrying, what we did is we got the stuff that the feds got rid of because every couple of years they got to buy new, even if the stuff's new that's still on the shelf. And so the guy that bid on it and picked it up, we turned around and bought everything from him, so we were laughing our arse off, and that we know whatever it is that the other side bought, we're wearing exactly what they wear. Ha, 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 ha. And, in fact, I was buying all the titanium chicken plates from the gentleman that I could. He had something like 30,000 of them available. Okay, now, something just came in, and this was not here before, and I guess for considering the price, take your pick. Okay, I'm not excited about the mesh helmet, but a lot of you people are. New, U.S. military, these are not new. These are used, okay? These are supposed to be like new, though. Okay, so heads up. Okay, grab your pen and paper. I don't know what size. They're not telling me what size they are. Hold on, let's check here. Okay, attention, attention, attention. Got just enough time to get this in here. Over at Sportsman's Guide, always keep an eye on stuff coming in. This just came in today because it wasn't here last night that I know of. Military surplus Mish-Atch helmet. That's M-I-C-H space A-C-H helmet, like new for $135. That is a better price. I was just looking at these last night, not excited about buying them, but if I was, I'd buy this one rather than go out and pick up the other one for $289 to $324. So these are reasonable. They have the newer helmet and back of the head rest system with regard to the basket chin strap system. If you're not familiar with that, take a look at it. Again, attention. This is over at sportsmansguide.com. It is new. That's how they list it. New, N-E-W, exclamation point. U.S. military surplus Mish Atch helmet, like new. $134.99. I'll read if there's anything here that gives me an idea of size. U.S. military issue Mish Atch design, made in USA, Kevlar ballistic fiber construction, foliage chin strap, adjustable padded interior for fit and comfort. Oh, I feel so comfortable. Matte exterior with grit paint. In other words, the model paint, like model / non-reflective or minimal reflective. 9 by 8 by 6 and 3 pounds total weight. So if you were looking for a Mish helmet, that is a Mish, not a China Sport simulator copy. $135 if you're with a club. $150 if you're not. So see why it's worth it to be a member. There are some things that pop up. In fact, I'm just to be safe, I'm going to put one over in the cart there, and that way when I need it, I can find it. Maybe not. Uh-oh. Add to cart. There we go. It finally did it. That took 2 attempts, and that never happens. So anyway, those are some of the other items that are out there. If you look around, they still have the NATO military surplus Flectar camo helmets. That's a camo, Flectar camo cover. It's the standard NATO helmet / the older style Fritz Kevlar, and those are $135 also. So now immediately somebody just asked me, hold on here, what's this say? Which would I buy? Well, okay, let me explain something. I don't like the Mish. I might end up wearing one. I'll pull it off an enemy corpse. Might even buy one just to find out how that head system works, but the harness. But otherwise, the NATO helmet offers more side protection, and it's not that we need less. We need more. You need more protection. You're going to need more armor. Eventually, you're going to see the armor change up to the full throat cover again. You're going to see the gorgets in the front. You're going to see the helmets, shift back because, here's what they'll do. They bought all these Mish and Lap and Cam helmets, and what's going to happen is, whatever the names are now, we just call them, the Lap and the Cam helmets are the ones that you see that have barely any sides. They'll be making side panels. Yeah, they already do, by the way, for those you don't know. They make, after you've shaved it, I'm going to take this off, I'm going to take that off. Now they're making side panels to add back onto the helmets because, it would probably be a good idea. Oh, darn. It really would be a good idea to have a little more protection because there's a lot of junk flying around and the side of your head's kind of exposed. And the reason for wearing the helmet was to try and keep your brains inside where they belong. In theory, application might be another thing. So anyway, a couple ideas there, and that Mish helmet thing just popped out. So for those of you who have been asking about those, hell, they're serviceable enough. Government bought them, right? Government sold them too. But they do that. Your tax dollars, man, they shovel it in and out as quick as they can. So we should not be surprised. Anyway, a lot of other stuff out there that is, if you go to the surplus deals and clearance sections in every department, every one of these locations, I go there first, see what they have, then go through the rest of the inventory. Now, the British military surplus DPM ballistic vests, they're just standard price. Those are not on sale. The other ones, all the stuff that was on sale I told you about before, some of you bought it, some of you didn't. The ones that did, you're smiling right now because you know what you paid. You paid 1/3 the price of what the stuff's going for now. If you listened when we told you, then you'd have been way ahead. As it is, this is still not bad. It's a hell of a lot cheaper than any other vest you could buy that would cover as much for $90. So there's the balance. That's the last of them that we can see for the moment. There's nothing on the horizon that the wholesalers have told me has come in yet. Now, maybe on the West Coast. And if we do get a message on that tomorrow, which would be Weapons Wednesday, I'll put it up in the evening program once I know what they have available. If you're out west, you'll get it for a better price because over the Rockies, the shipping is what kills. As far as, the shipping's almost as much as the price of the product. But if you're on the West Coast or on the left coast and you're listening, you guys can, in most cases, even drive down and pick the stuff up from the sources, which makes a big difference in and of itself. Again, there's also a bunch, somebody's asking me here, hold on. Yes, there's a bunch of Molly gear that's used. It's grade B, grade A, low grade A, grade B, which is fine as far as I'm concerned. I bought a ton of this stuff to round out the molly gear that we put together. In fact, I'm looking for belt straps and a few other things right now for the backpacks. But as far as like the flashbang, the mag pouch, the bandoliers, guys, their ACU right now is dirt cheap. And we're going to experiment and do something nobody else has done yet, but I'll tell you what it is. We're actually almost into the walnut husk season. I'm going to take a bunch of the ACU and we're going to soak it in boil it in walnut husk. Walnut husk is the earth brown shade colors, the butternut colors and such as they call them. Butternut was another one, especially popular on the East Coast back during the War for Independence. And it's a natural, you can't get that dye out if your life depended on it. If it dyes something, if that stain gets in your gear, your clothing, it doesn't come out. You're going to have that brown wherever it is. But it would be rather interesting to take that walnut and take all of these ACUs and dump them in at the same time and see what kind of shade range we get. I think it's going to be perfect for what I want. And if it is, this is a great way to make the ACU stuff a lot more serviceable. There's guys already doing it with RIT dye. RIT dye has gotten a little pricey by comparison to where it should be. The hulls, like the walnut hulls and the hickory hulls, there's also a bunch of other butternut. If you can find butternut, if you're on the East Coast, you'll see it more than we do here. But if you have a butternut, then you take the hulls and you take the bark. You can use both. Don't want to mess up a tree, so I'd be looking for the hulls from the nuts. And you boil it up, cauldron, 55-gallon barrel, cut a 55-gallon barrel in half, put it over the fire, turn it into a cauldron, and then take and fill it up with water, put a bunch of the holes in there, boil them up to get them all to, expirate all of their stain, their essence, and dump the gear in there, leave it in there however you want. You'll get darker the longer it sits. Then pull it out, hang it up, dry it, let's see what it does. If the stuff has got little red stamps on it and stuff like that, which isn't going to come out, that was intentionally designed so the troops couldn't buy cheap stuff and turn it back in and keep their new stuff. That's why they do that, so the troops, have to turn in their gear. It would be evil for you to do that because some of the stuff is used. Well, if it's tired and kind of used but it's not worn out, it's just not as pretty. Restaining it's going to settle a whole lot of problems, but also it's going to change the colors. Now, the sages will, in most cases, stay in the sage range. It's amazing with that stuff, so that dye is dominant. But that color is actually a good color for most seasons. The problem was the extreme lighter colors that they incorporated, creating that they thought was going to be a cement range, but in reality, it doesn't quite match with that. It doesn't really match with anything other than some gravel in the Middle East and then some of the gravel down on the southwest border of the U.S. ACU does work in some spots down there. Not everywhere, but some spots, by the nature of, again, the aggregate that makes up the soil, the material that they have to walk through and work in. So we're at the top. Whoa, way past the top. We should be hearing the music. Should have heard the music already. For everybody out there, guys, we need to take a break, and you can grab a cup of coffee. Also, remember, libertytreeradio.4mg.com, www.libertytreeradio.4mg.com. Go to the donate key. Take your time off to the right-hand side and also in the top band there. When you go to donate any amount. Guys, if all you can do is a couple of dollars, $1, whatever, I don't care. Don't apologize. Just donate. Anything and everything you do helps. That's all I'm worried about is, again, everybody pitching in. If everybody listening pitched in $1 every week or every month, wouldn't make any difference. Either way, it would help us a lot. We could do more. As it is, we'll do with what we got. If we get more, we'll do better. Also, again, reminder, we are on Liberty Tree Radio live feed. And so if you get a chance, plug in, come on over to the YouTube page. If you're on cell phone, it may be an easier solution for you, and the quality of the audio is decent. But a lot of you have YouTube apps that you can plug into, so you just hit a button there. And that is going to make a big difference in terms of safety if you're traveling, if you're doing afternoon drive time, which a lot of you are right now. I don't want to hear about you getting wrapped around a tree or kissing somebody else's car with your bumper. So, again, prior proper planning prevents piss-poor performance. And we should hear the music. We are we're way past the top. We are heading into the next hour quite deep now. So, for everybody out there, God bless the Republic. Death to the New World Order. Shall prevail, ladies and gentlemen. The Empire's on the run. We're in a march. And it is Tuesday on Liberty Tree Radio.
We all need to prepare ourselves. You might have the food, water, gold, and silver, but ask yourself, are you truly prepared? That's why you need to visit MaineMilitary.com. MaineMilitary.com carries everything you need. Gas masks, fire starter kits, high-capacity magazines, chemical suits, military surplus items, and much more. Do you own a firearm? MaineMilitary.com has a large selection of pistols and rifles suited for your needs. Are your local stores sold out of ammunition? Call or visit them today for prices on hard-to-find ammo and bulk ammo orders. You don't need to worry about having a military surplus store in your area because MaineMilitary.com is the only store you'll ever need, all from the comfort of your computer. Visit them online today at MaineMilitary.com. That's Maine, like the state, military.com.
Liberty's Guardian, Guns and Ammunition, a family-owned business located in the heart of Ohio's hunting country. Let us help you find the right shotgun or rifle for you. Or if you're looking for a pistol or concealed carry, we have a nice selection of compact and subcompact pistols for that too. Check out our website at www.libertiesguardian.com. That website again is www.libertiesguardian.com. Go to the website and check out our selection today.
Join Mark and Don for Weapons Wednesday, where you'll learn how to use everything from your bare hands to your average AR-15.
The 12-gauge autoloader.
Sure.
The 45 long slide.
Yep.
With laser sighting.
You betcha.
The Uzi 9mm.
Yes, sir.
Phased plasma rifle in a 40-watt range.
What are you, crazy?
Wrong.
Okay. We'll talk about that, too. So whatever question you have about whatever weapon you have, call Mark and Don on Weapons Wednesday. And remember, your mind is your first best weapon.
I had a dream the other night that, well, I didn't understand. A figure walked in through the mist with a flintlock in his hand. His clothes were torn and dirty as he stood there by my bed. He took off his three-cornered hat, and speaking low to me, he said, "We fought a revolution to secure our liberty. We wrote the Constitution as a shield from tyranny. For future generations, this legacy we gave. In this, the land of the free and home of the brave. The freedoms we secured for you, we'd hoped you to always keep. But tyrants labored endlessly while your parents were asleep. Your freedom's gone, your courage lost. You're no more than a slave. In this, the land of the free and home of the brave. You buy permits to travel and permits to own a gun. Permits to start a business or to build a place for one. On land that you believe you own, you pay a yearly rent, although you have no voice in saying how the money's spent. Your children must attend a school that doesn't educate, and your Christian values can't be taught according to the state. You read about the current news in a regulated press, and you pay a tax you do not owe to please the IRS. Your money is no longer made of silver nor of gold. You trade your wealth for paper so your life can be controlled. You pay for crimes that make our nation turn from God and shame. You've taken Satan's number. You've traded in your name. You've given government control to those who do you harm so they could burn down churches and seize the family farm and keep our country deep in debt. Put men of God in jail. Harass your fellow countrymen while corrupted courts prevail. Your public servants don't uphold the solemn oaths they've sworn. And your daughters visit doctors so their children won't be born. Your leaders send artillery and guns to foreign shores and send your sons to slaughter fighting other people's wars. Can you regain the freedoms for which we fought and died? Or don't you have the courage or the faith to stand with pride? And are there no more values for which you'll fight to save? Or do you wish your children to live in fear and be a slave? O sons of the Republic, arise, take a stand, defend the Constitution, the supreme law of the land. Preserve our great republic and each God-given right. And pray to God to keep the torch of freedom burning bright. As I awoke, he'd vanished in the mist from whence he came. His words were true. We are not free, but we have ourselves to blame. For even now, as tyrants trample each God-given right, we only watch and tremble, too afraid to stand and fight. If he stood by your bedside in a dream while you were asleep and wondered what remains of the freedoms he'd fought to keep, what would be your answer if he called out from the grave? Is this still the land of the free and home of the brave? God bless you, and God bless this republic.
And good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is the second hour of the afternoon intelligence report. I'm Mark Kornke. One day closer to victory for all of our brothers and sisters, both on and behind the lines in occupied territories, southwest, east, northeast, and south. Ladies and gentlemen, you were listening to us on Libertytreeradio.4mg.com, Liberty Tree Radio on YouTube live stream, and we are on AM and FM micro stations, AM and FM conventional stations, CB base stations, and Ultra Net Hallmark and Golden Spike technologies, east and west of the Mississippi, along with Alaska. Good afternoon to all of our friends out there in lower 49, including the great state of Jefferson, along with CONUS, the outlying states and territories, 6:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Running a little late for the second hour, so again, hopefully it didn't disappear. Again, it is the 1st of September, the new month, and only 30 days, less than 30 days to the big turnaround. September, October, November. Oh, October is when the government flips. And that's when the Israelis will be stealing another $5 to $7 trillion from America, just like they did with the support package that went through the oi boy halls there of the Capitol. Oh, yeah. You can look forward to that. Just think, more operating capital will be leaving the United States so that those skanks of parasites overseas can have another golden toilet fixture for their bathroom. It's far more important than what you goyim are going to receive. So anyway, it is the 12th year of open Fabian socialist and Soviet socialist occupation of America with a K, 2020 old Earth calendar, 2020 year of conflict, year of betrayal. Yeah, remember you got that, though, you got that support check that came in. Hey, yeah, they laughed their ass off because meanwhile, they took most of the operating capital that would have been lubricating the economy, and they lubricated your hind end and shoved it right. Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's what those pooftas do. Well, in this case, they took those trillions and ran them overseas to Brussels, Haifa, and Tel Aviv, right out of the country. So, okay, that's fine. We understand that. Then smile and wave. Remember, after all, you've got to enjoy the police state that's being promoted by the oi boys. But otherwise, well, we need to have solutions. Communications, another thing. Setting up your own microweb is not that hard, but you need to be working on it. An example is picking systems or acquiring systems now that are a glut or a flood on the market. Cable wire. Guys, go to your places that have Restore or where they have church resales and stuff, and everybody gets stuff donated to them. Grab every piece of cable wiring you can. Usually it'll have ends mounted on it. I just got a couple of 120 foot. They actually were even marked where they came out of another institution or building. They were virtually new pieces of equipment, something that was probably almost a new installation, white, which really is obvious. If white gets dirty, it's pretty, dusty or dirty, doesn't make any difference. This stuff is all virgin. Again, with the cabling and all of it already put together, you can make it work for you. The other thing I got were bags of brand new junctions, joiners, links, hubs, all kinds of stuff for free. And already sorted out, already did that yesterday, last night till late, actually almost to midnight. But brand new, sorted them out by types, sorted them out by manufacturer even, because keep all the manufacturers together. But what's really cool is it's enough to actually wire up a small town just with the bags and boxes of connectors. And that's just one source. I mean, it's not the only one I've had. I have quite a few others that are piled up and now separated. Now we're going to go into the maintenance / communications truck. And if we wanted to wire up a site, I mean, we can do everything top to bottom, virtually brand new, virgin, ready to roll, hardlined, which is always, preferred. Wireless is garbage, absolute trash. Plus, it's more of an identifier / a crosshair when it comes to the other side tracking or trying to listen in on things. Everything that's wireless can be intercepted by the regime from outside. So, again, other ideas, old computers. I just went through, I got 5 of the IBM, same model I'm running right here, tabletop / under the table systems. All of them just did a quick light up. I put one plug in, put a monitor on hand, just plugged everything in, tuned up, came up. Already have about, I'd say I've got enough throw power there I could replace the system I have here comfortably with any one of the machines. One or two have some bells and whistles that this machine doesn't have that I normally use, and it's unsophisticated and it's a total throwaway. If need be, I'd abandon it and smash it myself, pull out the hard drive, frag everything else, throw some barbecue lighter fluid on it, and toss a match and say goodbye. That's how unconcerned I am for the system. You don't want to. It's not junk, certainly not, because we can use it quite effectively. But it's where I won't cry about it. There's not a $5,000 or $6,000 piece of machinery, which is what happens when you buy new and buy all the other goodies that go along with it. Now, you can spend less, and even still, a lot of people don't like that $1,000 hit, so they're afraid to dispose of things when the time comes, especially in a semi-battlefield situation, which is what we're in right now. Bad guys are going to be coming. The cop shops are going to find this as their excuse to go after a lot of the regular Americans out there and the patriots. You got a lot of communists in uniform. They are hardcore. They're just like Antifa. There's no difference between one or the other. And for that reason, be prepared and be ready to deal with getting rid of the, what might be an issue. I got to go back. I should have done this before. Forgive me, I didn't mention these. hey, a lot of you guys like the H suspender system for your web gear. You don't like the vest with the upper, rolling up the side of the system, rolling up the breast area. Depending on what kind of armor you're wearing, it's not as comfortable anyway. This is on sale right now. In fact, even cheaper than it was before. But if you are looking for, they only have them in the smaller sizes, darn. But if you're looking for, actually for the girls, if you got children or petite kids out there, or girls that wives that need equipment, and you're looking for a one of the H-type systems in Molly gear, U.S. Air Force military surplus H gear harness new, $13.49, $13.50, cheaper than when we bought them, but that's because they now only have the extra small and smalls available. However, this is a good system. I actually use this one. I did buy a quantity before the big ones were gone. But the advantage here is, again, the belly area in the middle. If you're going to get down prone, they're going to drop to the ground. The vests mean you got a bit of a push, which is going to keep the middle of your body up. You're not going to get as close to the ground as you might like. This is an H-type system where the center straps come together just like it would on a pistol belt, and in fact allow you to station left and right your equipment so you can actually get down, get prone, and nothing's in the way. The lower you are to the ground, less likely it is certain body parts are up where they can get shot. Now, these are in extra small and small, but they are worthwhile. They're in the ABU camouflage, which is basically a digital tiger stripe. It is in the color range of the ACU. If you aren't familiar with it, go take a look at the ABU camo. They're disposing of it already, which is cool, which means a lot of stuff like this is showing up. U.S. military, in this case, U.S. Air Force military surplus H gear harness, brand new, item number WX2-716564. So if you're a small, or if you've got another, like a couple of girls or the kids, you wanted to get them some web gear, you're looking for something in line with what you're already using, there you go. And there are some neat solutions with these, by the way, because of the way they put some of the molly straps up. If you look close, one of the things that I did is, in these particular ones, now there's difference. There's 3 or 4 variations. But you have a couple of single molly straps to mount pistol mag pouches horizontally, or flashbang grenade, or even some of the regular grenade pockets. My problem with the grenade pockets is when they're horizontal, yeah, you've got all the keepers and stays, and it's supposed to stay where it belongs, but remember, I like it in a bucket. Grenades are nice in a bucket with a lid, whereas magazines, in this case, aren't going to cause as much resistance issue or problems, and it would be an excellent solution for a lot of you that are looking for, again, an H system. Now, remember, these have the reinforced shoulder straps for drag or pull carry, or for if you've got somebody inside a vehicle reaching down inside the hatch. They're not like the armor ones, which have the epaulette-type hanger, but they do have a back neck grab, like a luggage loop. And for being able to move somebody, the harness will do its job. You just grab the rig and you drag your hind end along that way. It works, okay? Anyway, that's over at Sportsman's Guide. It's not a big issue, but it is something that jumps out. And, in fact, I'm going to do this to be safe because that way I can find it later on today. There we go. So another item that's relatively new and sophisticated, already something I mentioned on the air. Yeah, somebody's coming back with, have you seen the price of the body armor out there? Yes, I know. That's why I was saying under $100 for anything you can mount on those seats is better than $200, $300, $400, $500 for a vest. Now, there were some plate carriers. Remember, Botash had something here a little bit ago that was under $100. And one of the other AR500, they had buy one, get one free for $65, and I should have jumped on that faster myself. Because, again, if you look at the price just for the plates, without a carrier, just the plates, you're going to go, oh, my God, that's yeah, it is, pricey. But that's what the market's running right now. That's what you're going to have to live with. So get over that. And, again, start searching like I've told you to. Start delving into all the odd corners with all the clearance and closeouts. Allegheny Surplus has got some really great Vietnam-era Alice gear right now, AlleghenySurplus.com. and the price is much better than most of the Molly stuff is. There's a little creep right now on the commercial Molly stuff because they know that they can sell it. It's that simple. Everybody's gearing for war, and nobody's slowing down. So don't be surprised. That's just where it's going. That's where it's headed. You can find some bundle deals. I'll repeat this again. U.S. military surplus flashbang grenade pouches, 4 for $9. That's over at Sportsman's Guide, okay? And they do have a bunch of other odds and ends stuff. If you look at used, you can even get the whole system used for a reasonable price. Some of the stuff, not so much. In fact, the DCU is starting to do a price creep up, which I think is rather fascinating. Oh, God, don't tell me we're going to have Desert Storm 1 reenactors now. Oh, God, that would be next. It's okay. That puts a lot of gear out there where it needs to be so we can access it when they throw it away. Example, on sale, U.S. military surplus fighting load carrier, just the vest, $9. Okay, there's another, again, ACU item, or a vest item. You can throw it together quick, and you're not out that much money. Another thing that's popping up, I got to mention these. There's a change out in a lot of the guide gear and guide equipment for game packing, for going out and setting up equipment, because we're getting into the next hunting season. Guys, watch for the blind bag carriers and for the game cargo carriers, the old ones from last year. I've seen them for as little, these are big, but these are just basically big, like 110-liter backpack assemblies. They're just one big, long chamber. Now, this is kind of handy for a lot of the stuff you people have been constructing, or if you're looking at going infantry and then going to a retreat that's going to be off in the middle of BFE because you wanted to get way off the beaten path, you better have some solutions for carrying junk. I can't emphasize that enough. I've seen this over and over again. Polling is something you better have ready to go. It's not that difficult. But we need a pole. You need to actually pick a sapling that's about 1.5 inches in diameter, and you want to cut it now or cut them now, and you need to treat them. You need to cure them. You debark them and make them into the tool that you need, and then leave them on site. Poling equipment cargo between two people is a lot easier in many cases than somebody schlepping an 80-pound backpack. Now, you might still put a backpack on someone's back and carry the junk on the pole. Yes, you can do that. Because if you're trying to unarse the road or the road network and get deeper into the nobody walks this way territory, you want to get out of sight, out of mind as quickly as you can. No hesitation, no wait. You want to get moved out of there. So if you're thinking that way, you need to have the technology in place now so that you're able to work something like that. On that note, those big backpacks, somebody's just asking, they have a semi-frame, they have reinforcing in the back panel towards your back. But otherwise, there's a number of different sizes, there's a number of different models. You're going to have to look to see what's in the sales or clearance or closeout right now, but under $10 because they really want to move them. And they're basically just a big core chamber bag. Now, a lot of people would like those. If you like a lot of reasons, one of the reasons for carrying the 90 or the 100 or 120 size bags is the argument that they're actually kind of part of your sleeping bag, like lower leg to torso, upper torso, or middle torso sleeping bag when the time comes in an emergency. Yeah, seriously, I'm not exaggerating. If you haven't seen any of the ideas for, extreme cold weather operations, the backpack, which, by the way, in many cases they are panel protected, so they've got what is basically high-density foam in them, if they're armored, that's not a bad idea. That foam is insulation. So for sticking your legs into a long bag like that, and then still having other protection, tarp, cover, whatever, ground cloth, in a survival mode situation where maybe the backpack is all you grabbed, whatever you have attached to that pack is what you got to work with, including the pack itself. So just a little heads up with that. Somebody's asked, well, what other uses could you use for a big pack like that? Well, a big bag could carry a lot of, basically, is fluffy stuff that might otherwise bebop around on you and not really be too cooperative, okay? It has a tendency to not really blouse or bag well. A bucket bag is always good for that, keeps everything down and in, and you can even take the stuff that likes to expand and slip around. You can put that down below and put the heavier stuff up above to bring the center of gravity up anyway. And then you've got, that stuff contained, but you've also got a whole lot of junk in one big pile where it's all one bundle and you don't have to worry about it slipping or disconnecting from your gear. A lot of stuff when you tie it down or lash it down is still, especially if it compresses, but it will expand. Guys, it'll kind of ooze its way out the side. I always had that problem with even the down-filled backpacks, to the point where we actually took the laundry dump bags. I don't know if you remember these. I've got still a bunch of them that are so old, all the plastic's gone from them, but they would still be a good choice to. What you did is you took the sleeping bag and wrapped it up, and then stuck it inside the bag and tied that bag off. And even if the straps and everything, if the straps would not slide off the backpack as easily when it was in a bivy bag. That's what they call them now, bivy bags. But the bivy bag we're talking about basically was an improvised idea. It wasn't purpose-built. You took the laundry/utility cargo bags. They were made out of the same strided nylon that the ponchos were made out of. And for the longest time, those were something that was just an aside. Everybody got chucked one of them. You could usually get them from Quartermaster for nobody wanted them, so you could get them without any problem at all. And they were in OD green, and then eventually when they went to the woodland for the ponchos, even during Vietnam, at the end of Vietnam, there were a lot of those in woodland out there, which was really cool. You can match up all your camo. Or eventually go to camo, which was so much a priority. Oh, OD green, we need to go to camo. Okay, well, there you go. You had it, it was on hand. Nowadays, again, there's such a glut of, or I should say a wide range of, not so much a glut, because some things are shallow in terms of numbers, but there is a wide range of material, and you're not with the Army, so you can cherry pick from whatever you want to for your militia that works, okay? I can't emphasize that enough. If it's stupid and it works, then it's not stupid. Always remember that, okay? Next, and again, we get away from Sportsman's Guide. They don't advertise with us, but we mention them because they have stuff that we make useful. And again, those mesh helmets are over at, they just got them in. There are mesh helmets over at, the mesh helmets are over at Sportsman's Guide. There we go. Sorry about that. Excuse me. Anyway, a couple other things, too. Again, the Black Lives Matter crew, of course, are making all kinds of public statements about how they're going to ambush a bunch of you other people out there. So the fickle finger of fate maybe pointed at you. That guy that was shot in Portland is only the first, and they're going to expand, and they're going to get you all, and they're coming, again, blah, 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 as we know. We'll take them at their word, but they're going to come to the rural areas again. Well, and of course, that even, I don't know if you guys caught this, but Angela Davis has been flapping her yap. Anybody know that? In fact, now she's being known as college professor Angela Davis. So Angela Davis, of course, is talking about how the country needs to be burned down, too, by the way. She's, this is great. They want to keep it up. And no matter how the election turns out, they plan on burning you out, okay? So, just a little heads up, you might want to pay attention. There's been about 3 or 4 comments that they finally made a little more public that Angela Davis came up with. If you don't remember Angela Davis, she was famous for being with the Black Panthers, but also several of the other even more unique organizations. She smuggled guns into a bunch of Black Panthers that were in a court hearing. They took the judge, a bunch of other people hostage. When they came outside, they fired up the van. The cops fired up the van. They got the judge killed. Everybody killed anyway. If you don't remember this, and Angela Davis was part of that. She was sent off to prison, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The rest is history, as they say. Oh, by the way, then she's been on college campuses doing whatever she wants. Because that's how it works when you're leftist. You should remember that. And so that's why I feel the way I do and act the way I do. The only difference is that they'll cut every corner and lie their ass off to do whatever they can to us. On the other hand, the cops, they kind of snuggle and hug when it comes to the commies, and they'll follow any order given to them by the communists in the FBI, the communists in the regime, and the foreigners that are in all the other organizations whose butts they're licking. So just a heads up on that one, too. Anyway, another thing real quick, mapping. I cannot emphasize enough. We only got 30 days before the first part of the shipwreck begins as far as the money shift. So, guys, you got 30 days. Remember, there's a lot of freebies out there. The freebies won't be there after a while. Travel centers where you have AAA, for instance. There's another one. Your hospitality centers, if they're open, depending on what state they are. Guys, even if you're going through a state, stop at the hospitality centers, ask for maps of the state. Ask if they have any of the old ones because you want more than two. Well, you know, if you have the newer ones, sometimes you get two, sometimes you get 4, 5, or 6. But every state, Missouri, Florida, Indiana, Michigan, I don't care where you go, it doesn't make any difference, Oklahoma, go to those travel centers and stop in and say, hey, have you got last year's or the old maps? Yeah, we got boxes of them, but we got the new ones. I'll tell you what, can I have a bunch of the old ones? Well, we do have to get rid of them. That's right, you do. Otherwise, they'll chuck them in the dumpster. So if you can grab more, or if you're local and you can find out that they got a bunch more maps there, send other people over there to get more maps. You don't have to get a box. You don't have to buy them. They're free. You don't buy my butt. Anyway, the other thing real quick, the trucker road atlases. I believe that there is an inventory of the older last year's models still in there, and they actually have had some sales in some of the truck stops. You're going to want to check on that because, again, some of these are county by county for the states. If they have those and you are in a certain state and they have your state, buy it. Get at least one. Make sure it's with your topography section. At the very least, make sure it's in your vehicle, your primary bug-out vehicle. You do not count on the electric to do its job or any job when the time comes. Mapping, and more mapping. Now, topo mapping, I don't know how reliable the government is for getting what you want right now, but if you go to they have both a geological survey, geodetic survey, you have the military, they're all 1 to 50,000, but there's also 1 to 27.5. There's a bunch of different odd specs for different scales. And guess what? If that's what they got, to get what you need for your area, whatever you can get, I would access at least 1 or 2 copies of. If you can make a deal, like sometimes they have a deal price-wise, get the deal. If you got to buy 3, 4, or 5 to get a better deal, you might want to do that simply because you'll have full-size maps. They are topographic maps, and they're in color. Now, once you have those, you can turn right around and modify them accordingly with a little bit of photocopy work. In other words, you can go get what you need, take it over to the photocopy shop. Look to see if your office supply has the big plate photocopiers for doing large poster type things. If they do, and you can lay 2 of the maps on one of those posters, depending on what the price is, it will probably be cheaper than going to back over to the government printer, the GPO, government printing office, for such products. However, remember, they're photocopies. You may also want to pay to have those laminated. Now, the carry maps you're going to do, unless you want to do them in sections, we've done that before, where you cut them down into 8.5 by 11 sections and have them laminated that way. So you have sections to work with. You have to pull some maps. You'll have to pull them out when you have overlap sections. But the cool thing is that laminating, especially to have something in-house on the wall for everybody to be able to use if you're referencing and you have a retreat, is especially critical because you'll have the entire area of operation covered, and you could even expand. What I've done is I've also taken the regular topo maps and I blew up the 1 to 50,000 to a larger scale, and that way we also are able to hand out 8.5 by 11 sheets of the area of operation here, with the epicenter being the house and the property. That way, if we have combat operations, all the people that would be relief personnel coming into this area have laminated copies of those maps, so that if we have to fight here, the center of the map is this property. All the other outlying area that would be relevant out to beyond extreme rifle range, actually, is part of your system, part of what you have in hand. We just do those so that everybody has a reference on their person or with their group, and multiple copies available. Everybody gets a map, okay? That way, and if you're fighting your way in, everybody's going to know how to avoid or use the terrain or move through the terrain accordingly. We know where the bridges are, you know where the choke points are, etc. And you can see it by terrain features. That also means that you can identify what position you may want to exterminate or eliminate first on the contact process coming in for relief. Remember, if you got support coming in from outside, you want them to identify what are the most likely hide points. We've already done that here. And if we were to engage while they're thinking you're going to come straight in, the idea is that relief units come in and engage specific elements and neutralize key overwatch positions right from the get-go. And then they may roll up the enemy's line in the process or other key points from that vantage point, depending upon the development on the ground and at the discretion of the relief commanders that are moving through the area to support the other unit. Now, another thing here real quick. Hold on here. What was that question? Oh, 1 to 50,000 is nice, but if you can't get it, to grab whatever else you can for your area. Now, most of the country does have 1 to 50,000 maps on hand. They're made, but the problem is whether or not there are any available in any good number where you are. Guys, over the years, a lot of this stuff has been bought up. GPO has not necessarily caught up, or the holding points. If you're dealing with one of the extensions, they may not have enough of the maps that you need. Now, as far as the other element is, when were the maps made? Better a topo map that is a little older or even a lot older than no topo maps, no topographic maps at all. Why? Well, the terrain has not changed, and while there are updates, and you will see if you notice there are ways to identify updates when they do that, when they're most recent, especially if they're significant, the lion's share of the topography that you need is going to be the remote, not the terrain that involves roads, although certainly you're going to be crossing roads. Most important is to know the high or range features that are dominant and preferred if you're going to be traveling and wish to be able to observe in a distant area of activity, moving through an area, be able to look and observe the next advance point that you're moving to from the last rally point that you're going to designate. So high terrain, rolling terrain, growth, overgrowth, things of that nature are all, of course, identified on a topo map. So if you can't get the latest, get the next oldest. If you can't get that, get the next oldest. If none of those are available, take the oldest map you can. Understand that it's going to have limitations with regard to identifying the road net and new construction. But other than that, the most critical aspect, rivers, river nets, proper location for the river nets, proper location for railroad tracks typically are going to be there. Railroad tracks are, I think, more, in many cases, going to be more critical for some of you than the road network is. But the road network is well represented. In addition, again, rolling terrain, advantageous terrain, which may be, again, depression, valleys, shallows, that kind of thing. That's what you're looking for on these maps. That's one of the things you'll need if you're infiltrating or exfiltrating especially. You want overhead cover. We don't want to move through the middle of a cornfield, and we're not going to be on the expressway, right? You're not going to be in the middle of the field. You have no reason to be there. Why are you in the middle of that field? Well, it's a shortcut. Yeah, to your death. Okay? How's that sound? Anyway, a couple other things that need to be done with regard to operations. Let's not forget that we have a variety of pieces of equipment that are in place, ready to roll at any given time. Mapping should be, of course, moved to that location, or to move to that location to support if it's a multiple number of vehicles. However, if you have multiple vehicles, you should have comparable mapping for each. If you're going to be moving in column, you don't want just one brain. Everybody has to have the same basic information on board. Now, this is one of the things that we do, especially with the with regard to the atlases. One of the things I just did here, I added a bunch of extra Michigan maps to each vehicle. In addition, we have an atlas with each one, and I also have a metropolitan, or what we call an urban passbook, that has each of the little dots on the map, black and white road grid maps, one for each page. It's something that the independent couple of guys did years ago, and most of the states are done in the Midwest. Every dot on the map, whatever the town is, no matter how big or small, what you do is you look at the index, go to the page. Typically, the little dot on the map will be the map, one page. And it is a line drawing of the maps with names, the whole 9 yards of each of the streets that's in the little burger town. It is a simple reference, but it is a priceless reference, especially when you are if you're stuck and you have to go through the road net, and you can't pass through that dot can't get around that dot on the map. You at least want to be able to move along the periphery, whatever it is you can find in the way of a secondary road or roundabout roads that will get you through that area and down the road to another location. Okay, past that dot on the map. And again, if at all possible, if we're infiltrating, exfiltrating, and trying to avoid, especially in some of the unique situations that can develop, population, ideally, obviously, if we take our other mapping information we have, we can virtually plot courses around all of the metropolitan areas and all of even the small villages and towns. You may have to go out of your way a little bit, but you'd be surprised in many cases you don't have to actually go out of your way at all. You realize, why did the roads change? We have a lot of the old Indian Trail road nets here. That's what they actually are. And what's interesting is that with the angling or prioritizing a road, east-west road, the shortest route of travel has not been improved, but it's still there. The other advantage of that, I don't want to mention particular roads, but in our area, there are a lot of different road nets that we have here that are even dirt road, but they're less direct. They're not police patrolled or even monitored by anybody, and you can actually make better time cross-country utilizing them than if you were to use the paved road net, strangely enough. Now, this is true of a lot of the eastern seaboard states also, but again, where you can't get there from here, it's still better to know the shorter can't get there from here route than to, booby up and make a mistake. So heads up on that with regard to the process. And again, study your maps and then drive your roads. Another thing, we have a lot of construction going on here right now that is big business construction. We have a lot of pipe that's being laid or fixtures that are being replaced. We also have some stuff that we're going to be doing a little more investigating of that's been paid for by some of those people. Now, what's interesting is where they've done certain construction or put in little road nets, much like the stuff that we saw up north that now has military personnel on the ground. What's interesting is that these areas typically surround what are other critical topographic features or man-made sites, such as communications or power transfer control hubs. Communications hubs that are remote. I point to several of those in the area here that we've discussed with our own people already. And this means that they're prepped to be able to drop in personnel, secure the area like they did, back during the Cuban Missile Crisis or whatever. And they have an entire big developed road net. We're not talking gravel. We're talking asphalt and paved, heavily improved, ready to roll, ready to be dropped in. Platforms, locations are there where they can move in the mobile rigs, and they would have a bristling little porcupine, with a road security net around the entire complex. Well, right now it's the public has limited access, keyword limited. And this means that they've optimized and, of course, have used the smoke screen to build what they feel they need where they need it. Well, we're paying attention to that, too. You should in your area. A lot of the older, what we already have pointed out, are military operational sites that have always been in the government's inventory and were idled down so that everybody living forgot about them, have now been reactivated quite extensively. And this is something where it's kind of cool because we already have had these sites or have used these sites in the past ourselves because of all the training we used to do decades ago with, the military. Well, we have a long memory, and I'm relatively young. All the other people that were older at the time, well, they're all dead and gone in many cases. Well, these sites are being reactivated underground, complexes with communications tower above ground already in place so that, again, doesn't draw attention. They just need to upgrade, which is what they've been doing. You're going to see a lot of this in your area of activity. The more police state-oriented it is, the more likely that you have these complexes or these facilities operational. You need to plug in and pay attention, drive your roads. Now, one last thing. We're almost to the top here. You can drive your roads right now while you're listening to the program. You can be driving the local road right now with Google. There's more than one service, by the way. Google's not the only one. But remember, if something is foggy along the road, or if there's a hiccup, when, I want to turn to the right, it won't let you turn and look to the right across into that area. Guys, those are all indicators where what I would do is have a map, a physical paper printout map, black and white's fine, of your road grid, and then drive the road grid. And when something like that happens, get a highlighter with a green or a yellow or a red, and mark that space on the map. Now you keep driving down the road, and like in most area that you already know here, you can figure that's not critical. But when you come across an area like that, that's a place you need to know more about. It could be a government halfway house, could be an ADL/Mossad, hideaway / safe house. There's all kinds of stuff out there. We found it this is how we found a lot of it. Okay, we actually verified what we already suspected. Now, here's another thing. Take your frequency counters, take your radio support monitoring technology with you, and then scan the area. Wow, your frequency counter lit up like a Christmas tree. What the hell's here? We're out in the middle of nowhere. I'm getting 6, 7, 8 different VHF, UHF frequencies. I've got FM. I've got all kinds of stuff popping off here. Microwave, too. Wait a minute. What is this place? Look at the size of the transformers over there next to the chicken barn. Hey, those transformers are as big as something you'd see on an industrial Ford plant, but the building is like only 10 times the size of the transformer. I wonder what's here. Put a big red X on that spot. See how that works? Communications, guys. Remember, the other side, they worship, they embrace, they are easily tracked because of that. Their transportation can be tracked and transpondered that way. You can constantly monitor where they are. It's like I said, I don't need to hear them. I don't even need to hear the conversation. I don't care. Once I've identified a site like that, I know that's enemy real estate. That's an aggressor. That's one part of the aggressor's operations or another. Who cares what they're saying right now? The most important, the first thing, is to know where they are. You see how that works? Halfway houses, hideaway holes, safe houses, especially for operations against the American people. That's the kind of garbage Mossad, CIA, FBI, all these characters do all over the place. There's not that many of them by comparison to everybody else who lives in the community. But here's what's really fun. You may want to monitor and ID the frequencies they're operating at. Let's say you find a safe house. Well, what you do is you take your radio monitoring technology or frequency counters. Now you want to watch for whatever's operating in those frequencies anywhere else in the area. Maybe another property or house, or maybe even in a residential area. Wait a minute, that's where some of them live. One of them lives there. All the frequencies that are here are over there at that safe house with all the really goofy stuff. There's one there too, and there's one there. Oh, look, I've got them all pegged. Now, we suspected maybe one or two of them, but maybe you'll find more you didn't know about. See how communications, especially when the other side is immersed in that stuff, how it works for you? Don't forget that a lot of the other special tech requires or has special fuzz/frequencies that'll pop up. And because of that, especially with the special tech, the cool thing is you find it anywhere else, it's the same group of kids, same batch of troublesome children that need to be dealt with down the road. So again, prior proper planning prevents piss poor performance. You need mapping, physical, take advantage and use Google to, run around the countryside without even leaving your house. Get in your vehicle. Now you focus on the areas that are in question, always paying attention to the road along the way. You might have other construction you missed. That wasn't on the Google map. Where'd that come from? Oh, they took it off the Google map. Now I have it on mine. Yeah, again, prior proper planning prevents piss poor performance. We got a lot of work to do. Not enough time to get it all done, but we will accomplish what we need to the best of our ability. So if you have all these tools in your toolbox, you see, it's not just guns, it's not just bullets, it's not just magazines. It's having the ability to keep your people alive. It's being able to communicate. It's being able to communicate in a myriad of ways, to be creative. We got the thinkers, they got the stinkers. Don't forget, Morse code and a PVC tube and flashlight. You can point it in a direction. You can limit exactly who sees the signal, and only the people that need to see it are the only people that are going to be able to read it. Think about that. Last but not least, ChinookMed.com. Not the only one, but ChinookMed.com. Got to mention that. They have a couple of lesser blowout kits and more extensive blowout kits for you guys that are looking just to buy a package, okay? Go over to ChinookMed.com and then look to see what they have. Now, I would still add a few extra, like I said, mediums and small dressings that you're going to carry on your person. Doc can only carry so much. Whoever your medical person is, even with a backpack full of junk, if this thing escalates real fast, you're never going to have enough. It's just not going to be that way. People get tagged so easily. Look, again, I would remind something. That guy you saw with the arm in Wisconsin, got that chunk of his arm blown out, that could happen anywhere up and down the body, and guess what? You're going to have to be dealing with maybe multiple hits. So your blowout kit's going to deal with the worst, but you still have others. Now what do? Oh, well, rather than counting on Doc, how about you carry it yourself? And every member of your team carries it the exact same way. Carry the blowout kit, carry the supplemental bandages, and that way Doc's not going to run out, and Doc can keep you all alive. Once Doc has got you breathing, and he's not got you leaking, and he's stabilized you, and you're not, going into shock to the point where you're just going off the deep end and not coming back, well, you know what? More tools he has in the toolbox, he can also keep you functional and keep you from infecting, because he'll be able to change out dressings and do all the other things that are necessary if it takes longer than a day or two to get you where you need to be. Remember, now you're going to have a problem. It's not just the initial treatment, but we have to walk people out. Guys, you have to have the support to keep the person from becoming just one big infected pustule. Oh, you didn't think about that one. Well, or the character told you I'm stupid, which I'm sure, I guarantee it's happening right now. That person didn't think about follow-up or follow-through, did they? No, they didn't, because that's always the case. Shallow. After all, guns and ammo. I thoroughly believe in guns and ammo, and you'll notice I mention it every program. But the rest of the technology, in order for you to be properly rounded and to master the trade, is a lot more extensive. And you need more. If you can keep accumulating, more. If you can get it for cheaper, more is better. More is more gooder, okay? By the way, everything we're talking about buying, you could also use for a car accident. You ever seen somebody chewed up on a windshield, or somebody's eaten the crushed up front end of a car? Yeah, there isn't a whole lot of difference. In fact, it's just as nasty, mean, and horrible. So square your technology away. Get ready to deal with the problems at hand. And we are at the top. We are going to be hearing the music here in a minute. We got more live radio coming up after us. God bless our republic. Death to the New World Order. We shall prevail, ladies and gentlemen. The Empire's on the run. We're on the mark. We'll be back in 1 hour. I will be. Meanwhile, Edward's right there. More live radio coming up. Don't touch the dial and stick around. And then we'll be back at 8 o'clock for the Evening Intel Report, too. God bless. Bye-bye.